So, good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Kaba-Harrison, and I am joined here by Miss Misty Moon. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We had some tech issues. Sorry about that. I'm using a different computer, and I'm not the most tech savvy person, but thank you again for those ladies that are joining us. And we're going to go ahead and start. I know it's a little late, but thank you so much for bearing with us. And I will turn it over to Miss Misty Moon and let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you again for having me on your show, Jacqueline. I'm really honored. Hello, ladies. My name is Misty Moon, and I am a holistic health practitioner. I am also a sacred woman practitioner trained by the legendary master holistic health practitioner, Queen Afua. And I am also a yoga instructor as well. And I've been on my healing journey for about 15 years now. And my passion is helping uplift women through incorporating sustainable self-care practices with womb yoga, focusing on womb wellness. For our womb is just not a physical place, but it's also a spiritual place as well. And meal planning, diet, everything that makes us feel good and empowered is my purpose in life. So in a nutshell, that's who I am and what I do.
Wow, that was a lot. Wow, you mentioned the yoga, and in reference to your journey, you said the past 15 years.
Yeah, like when you have that aha moment, when you realize, okay, when you have this awakening that there's some trauma that's been weighing you down, but you were just living unconsciously or living asleep or living comfortably numb. And so when I finally became conscious of it and decided to take responsibility for it, it became this long journey from there. And, not that it's been 15 years of just consistent being on my game. I mean, it's been a lot of ebbs and flows, but it's just 15 years of being conscious of being on this path of healing, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so if you could just start us off with telling us a little bit about yourself, like where did you grow up? Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, so I grew up in Oceanside, California. It's about 45 minutes north of San Diego. It's predominantly a military town, and it's right by the ocean. My high school graduation was on the beach. My dad's father, my parents, my brothers, we all went to the same high school, except for one. He went to the rivalry school. But I have four brothers, and I'm the only girl. I have three older brothers and one younger brother. And our upbringing was really interesting. I mean, it was pretty rough, the first part of our childhood. My father, who I'm absolutely proud of, I mean, he just got installed as a pastor. But for the first part of our upbringing, he was battling his own demons and dealing with alcoholism and drug addiction and, domestic violence with my mom. And so we moved around a lot as a result, because my parents had my older brother at a really young age. So they're trying to figure it out, and that was part of my healing, was coming to a place of forgiving my parents and knowing that they did the best that they could. My upbringing was pretty rocky, but for the most part, I just pushed through. I was really active in high school. I was in the speech team. I was in color guard. I played basketball, ran track, really active. But I did always, even though I was popular and I was a leader in school, I always had this undertone of depression and even suicide. Like my first suicide attempt was really when I was 11. So from 11, 15, 16, I dealt with this, but I always kept that happy face, that happy face mask on in order to be able to get through. And again, that was part of the roots that spun me onto this healing path.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I have to admit that's a very, very young age to experience that type of depression.
Yeah, I was always very, very aware. I mean, I can remember the very first time I stood up as a baby. I think I was maybe one or two, and I remember describing the scene to my mom, like the coffee table that I held on to, and like where she was standing and like her reaction. So for people who, I consider myself an indigo child, and I like some people out there may know that, resonate that with that. But indigo children are hyper aware of their environment, even as children. So when you're already hypersensitive and your environment's toxic, you feel that even more intensely. So it did make sense that at the age of 7, I would be suicidal because my environment was really, really toxic and really violent, and I didn't feel safe. And I just felt like I wanted to escape. I always felt like I was learning how to be human. I always considered myself as being a star child. So yeah, that's my explanation of why I would go through depression at such a young age.
Wow. And what was that terminology again that you used? This is my first time hearing of that. And you described it as being a hypersensitive child.
Mm-hmm. But you mean the indigo child? That terminology?
Indigo. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more of a metaphysical type of terminology. So it's based off the fact that a certain generation of children that are born have a certain type of energetic blueprint, if you will. So indigo children are from like 70, anyone who was born between like 70, like 77 to like think around like early 80s. And indigo children, you'll notice, you're familiar with the terminology Generation X, like that generation that's just super, very smart, but really rebellious, and they oftentimes are like diagnosed with ADD, attention deficit disorder. And it's not because, it's more because they're so intelligent and their brain waves are functioning on a higher frequency that the older generation don't quite know what to do with them. So what do? They drug them up with Ritalin, or like put them in this like special education class. And so the younger generation, I think that those who are born like close to like the mid 90s, those are what's called the crystal children. And the crystal children are very peaceful. They all have that glow in their eye. I don't know if you've noticed that with certain babies. And they're just even more intelligent. So yeah, that's what that is. And again, like when you have that hypersensitivity spiritually, you're more prone to, unfortunately, have more mental disability. That's why it's really important that, as parents, you've got to listen to your children, let them evolve on their own as opposed to trying to mold them in the way that you want them to be.
Wow. I have to say, guys, everyone that's listening, for those that joined us, and also, too, guys, if you're listening to us live and you have any questions, please put them in the comments. We are able to see the comments. If not, I'm going to be looking here at this screen, and I'll be checking the Facebook Live as well, because we want this to be as interactive as possible. Right, Misty? If you guys have any questions or any concerns. But, I'm a social worker. So, that's part of what we do. Typically, we're very inquisitive, right? Or at least, and I know I am, and I love to learn. And it's so amazing just hearing what you just said, because being a social worker and working in foster care, right? I've seen so many children, and even working in the emergency room ER, I've seen so many children, and especially young, children of color, and especially boys, the young boys that are now being diagnosed with the ADHDs, and it's a matter of, you have this classroom of all of these children. And if you have a classroom of like 30 plus children, it's it becomes an issue of, well, if you don't medicate your child, you can't bring them to school, because how are we going to be able to handle them? Yeah. So it's just like hearing you say that is just really resonates with me, because I have a 7-year-old. For those of you that don't know, I have a 7-year-old. A very, very active 7-year-old. Hopefully you won't witness that tonight, but very active. And hearing you talk about the depression piece really touches me, because my younger brother, he was born in 1980, and he committed suicide just before his 21st birthday. And it feels so weird. I mean, it's like a whole host of feelings, that are like coming about actually speaking that out loud, speaking that or truth out loud. But yeah, so that's why I just kind of really it just really touched my heart to hear you say that. As such a young child, and when you think of children, I'm sorry, guys.
No,
but this is part of what this is about. It's about being real.
Transparent.
It's about letting these feelings come up, you know, and I mean, today I'm accepting my truth. You know, it's not, I'll be honest, it's not something that, you know, I announce, you know, obviously those very close to me, but this is also part of my journey and my healing process. And just you saying that really, really touched me, you know, because I'm thinking being so young like that, you know, and when we're young like that, you know, I also grew up in a family of alcoholism, you know, and mine got progressively worse, you know, as I was like maybe middle school and older. But, you know, I guess everybody has their own way of coping with not feeling safe. And that's really what it is, you know, so you just kind of, you just kind of hit the nail on the head. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other people out there that have gone through similar situations, you know, so this is part of what makes you you.
Yes.
And how you have come to develop these wonderful, wonderful gifts that you share with the world, which is so phenomenal, so phenomenal. Oh my God. And thank you so much for being here. I don't know if I said that already, but I'm so happy to have you here.
I am so honored to be here and to share my story, because we're all our reflection of each other, you know, and we all can resonate with different aspects of our story. And, you know, I always share this with people that when I give my gratitudes, I even give gratitudes for my hardships, from my dark night of the soul, from my depression when I was suicidal, because for one, it gives me depth. Whenever I overcome a struggle, I go deeper as a human. I have more depth. I have more to offer as a health coach for women. So it's not just something I read in a book or a training I got from a certification I did, but it's something that I lived and experienced and went through. And that's why I feel confident and so passionate about wanting to help other women to rise above it, because you can. It takes some work. It definitely isn't easy. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% perfect. I definitely, you know, fall back. But the difference is that now that I have the tools, I can catch myself from going deep into the abyss of depression. And I give thanks for that. If it wasn't for those past experiences, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And even for my father, you know, he's a pastor now. He just got installed last weekend, actually. And if it wasn't for all that he went through, he wouldn't have that depth to offer to his ministry. So everything happens for a reason. And that's why it's just so important that we trust the process. Even in those moments where it doesn't make sense, there is a higher purpose for everything that we go through.
You know, and that led us, ladies, into that next question, which is your why. You know, and a lot of the women, or most of the women that I come into contact with, whatever their business is, you know, it's about of service and helping others. And there's usually something that connects them very deeply with that why. You know, like, why do you do it? So share with us a little more. From reading your history, I understand you had some issues with fibroids, and therefore you work with a lot of women that have fibroid issues and concerns.
I have yet to work one-on-one with any women that deals with fibroids. I can, at this point, share my journey to hope to inspire. And I'm still in the process of healing them. I got diagnosed in 2015, and I finally got an ultrasound done about a month ago just to see how they were doing, and they went down a centimeter, and I give thanks for that. So I am healing them, and it's a process. And it was a big wake-up call for me, because when I was diagnosed with the fibroids, I was like, man, you know, like, I'm healthy. I eat tofu, you know, I drink kombucha, I do yoga. What am I doing with fibroids? And I gave you an opportunity to go deep into what we call wound healing. That you were just saying earlier about needing to express your emotions, right? You know, when we're talking about your brother, and emotions have energy. When you break down the word energy, it's energy in motion. And if you don't allow those energies to release, they get stuck and turn into fibroids. They turn into cancer. They can turn into heart disease. People who have a hard time expressing their truth oftentimes have chronic throat problems constantly. So for me, it gave me an opportunity when I was diagnosed with fibroids to really get deep into the root issue of all the things I was neglecting myself, like all the abusive relationships. Not that I was in abusive relationships, but all the toxic relationships I had in the past. And really just getting deeper about my self-care practices, because you can eat all the kale salads and all the juices in the world, but if you're not practicing self-care, it doesn't matter. So it gave me an opportunity to really slow down and to just go deeper within my healing.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what would you say has been your largest obstacle? Yes, Jason. What was your biggest obstacle that you've overcome in your personal and or professional life?
In my personal life, overcoming depression and finally getting out of the pattern of wanting to check out, because it was just such a part of my psychology for such a long time that when I just really truly felt that I was a mistake, that something's not right, I'm not meant to be here, I can't process emotions properly, I was constantly feeling as if I didn't belong, I was second guessing myself, it was difficult for me to go to social gatherings, my palms would turn sweaty because I would think that I was stupid, I thought that I had nothing to offer. So to be able to finally come out of that, and really the turning point was when I went through Queen Afua's rites of passage last year. For anyone who's not familiar with Queen Afua, she's a master holistic health practitioner, and she created what's called a rites of passage for women, specifically women of color, that integrates ancient African spiritual practices. And it gives you an opportunity to get right with your diet, to get right with your thought patterns, the words that you say, your relationships, your environment, your home. And when I went through that, for the first time, I was able to really own my Blackness, because that was something else that was part of my identity crisis, because I never quite fit in with a particular group growing up. I didn't quite fit in with the Black girls I talked to proper. I didn't quite fit in with the white girls because I was Black. And so I was just always kind of like, who am I? So last year was that turning point where I finally was like, this is who I am. I have a voice. I have a say. I know that I have a purpose here. And that also bleeds into my greatest challenge as a being a businesswoman, is knowing that I have a voice. And this is something that Chandra Brooks, my beloved business coach, has been helping me with, is speaking up, owning myself, owning my truth, and knowing that I have something to offer. So those are the two big things I've overcome personally within my business.
Okay.
Yes.
And thank you for the explanation in reference to Queen Afua. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some other ladies out there that aren't quite sure, or aren't quite familiar. Where is she based out of?
Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Oh, okay, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But you're in California, right?
I'm in California, but what she does, she's been doing this the last few years, where you can do it online. So it's a Facebook group. So they have their classes once a week. And so they have a camera in the room where all the other sisters are gathering, so you can participate as well. And then when I went through it with a few other sisters here in Oakland last year. We all flew to Harlem for the graduation. And it was amazing because you finally get to see all the women that you've been traveling with through this, rites of passage. And it was a weekend event where we got up at 4 a.m. for a sunrise ceremony at the beach in Brooklyn. And it was so powerful. I recommend any woman who feels like she needs this major shift and wants to be a part of a community. Women all over the world. I mean, even Queen Afua travels to England and leads these rites of passages as well. And it's available for men. She just started a Men Heal Thyself rites of passage. So, yes.
So it's not necessarily, if you have like depression or fibroids, it's for anyone who feels like they want a deeper connection with their self and more, I guess, being more open to their intuitive self.
It's everything. It's everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, if it sum it up, is if you want balance in your life. Okay. Period. Whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, your relationships. I mean, like I said, there's 13 different aspects that we go through, and it's deep. Things come up. It's really deep. But the beauty of it is that Queen Afua is guiding you. Like for me, for an example, to give you all a more physical example, when I started the rites of passage, I was like in the depths of my fibroids. Leading up to the first week, I was bleeding 14 days, heavy flow. And after that first week, after the second week, because that's when we started focusing on diet, actually, no, it took about a month of going through the rites of passage. And I went from 14 days to 5 days. Just saying, and it was a combination because you do a detox during the rites of passage. You do a 21-day detox. There's particular herbs you do and like different colonics if you want to take it to that level, and all vegan-based diet. So it's everything. Yes.
Wow. And how long is the program? Or how long is the program that you went through?
The rites of passage is 12 weeks. So
12 weeks. Okay.
For each gateway. And then also during that week for that particular theme that we focus on. So it's sacred. The first week is all about the womb. The second week is about your words that you say. The third week is about your digestive system, focusing on food. Then we go into movement. And then we talk about our relationships. We talk about just deep healing, having balance. And then even down to time. We talk about how is our relationship with time? Are you punctual? Do you procrastinate? We talk about that. And we ended with talking about focusing on our life's purpose, which we call our meshkanat. What is your purpose in life? So it's well-rounded. And it's 12 weeks. And then during that week, they also have a guest speaker that talks about that particular theme. So an example, Bahishama, I cannot remember her name, but the sister, when we talked about sacred time, she's an astrologer, and she spoke about our relationship to cosmic time within the lens of astrology. It was so deep. So just to give you all some examples of what you experienced during the right.
Okay, ladies. Like I said, if you're not joining us, for those that watch this, okay, you're hearing this, right? I mean, she is a wealth of knowledge, and just, oh my God, I love it. I love it. And it sounds like it would be something that you could recommend for anyone.
Anyone. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Anyone.
Wow.
Yes.
That is phenomenal.
Yes.
And you bring all of that wisdom into working with your clients, into your business.
Yes. Absolutely.
Excellent.
That's really exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of answered one of the other questions I was going to ask is, when we talked about what was your biggest obstacle, how did you overcome it, or share some tips with us? Mm-hmm. And I know you've touched on it a lot. You've talked about meditation, you've talked about the program and eating well. Anything else that you didn't mention yet, or that you want to elaborate on a little bit?
Diet is key, definitely. Doing detoxes, working with herbs, working with essential oils, flower essence. Womb yoga has been huge for me. I feel like that's been another, because with womb yoga, you're doing a lot of stretches where you're toning your uterus and you're opening your groin area, so you're getting circulation. Self-care really has been, I feel like that's a component that's often overlooked. And self-care can mean resting when you need to rest, making love to your significant other when you need to make love to your significant other, hanging out with your friends. That's something I'm still working with, as far as like having a more healthier social life. I miss my friends so much. I've been really just focusing on my business, but those are all the things that makes one feel complete when all those, and that's one thing I learned from my training with Institute of Integrated Nutrition. That's where I got certified as a health coach. We talk about primary foods versus secondary foods. Okay. Secondary foods is what we eat, right? It's what we consume. Primary foods is relationships, your environment, your spiritual practice. You want to make sure all those things are in alignment in order to have that ultimate balance.
Okay. So that's the primary food. So it's the primary versus the secondary. You know what? For some reason, I thought you were going to say whether we consume it, whether it's like raw, or whether it was processed. I thought that's where you were going with that at first. But, okay.
I want to speak on that, because one thing about that Queen Afua, when you go, and you just referring back to Queen Afua, during the rites of passage, she encourages you to do a vegan diet. Okay, this is my theory about diets, and this is what I subscribe to this truth based on my training with the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, which is bio-individuality. Okay, some of us may need to eat meat because of our blood type, because of our genetic background, our age, our activity. But the thing is that if you do need to consume meat, to make sure that it's clean, no hormones, because hormones is really what causes havoc in our body, because we can't process it properly, right? So what happens? It turns into fibroids, it turns into cysts and all these other things. So And you also want to do it in moderation. That's just my intake. And to do detoxes, you know, to make sure that you're constantly giving your organs a rest. And yeah, you want to have fun, you know, if you want to have those chips, you know, here and there, but just making sure that you're doing it in moderation and making sure that your intention is clear of why you're eating that chip. Are you eating those chips or that cookies because you're numbing out? Or are you eating it because you truly want to enjoy it? Does that make sense? Found a little bit more about that.
If you're eating it because you want to numb out, or if you're eating it because you really want to enjoy it.
Yeah, meaning that oftentimes when we eat processed foods and sugar, we're numbing out. We're going into like a comatose. We're trying to dissociate whatever stresses is happening in our life, right? Or even when we're drinking alcohol or smoking that joint, you know. But if you are balanced and you're able to cope with your stresses and you're having that glass of wine because you just simply want to have a glass of wine and you enjoy it, or you want to have that piece of cake and you're eating it mindfully because you want to enjoy it. It's like healthy eating habits. You know, there's healthy eating and healthy eating habits. This is just my answer.
No, I'm laughing because that's like so me and my relationship with those little pints of Ben and Jerry ice cream. It's like, oh God, I've had a stressful week, so I'm gonna go home and sit on the couch and watch something on TV and have my ice cream. But you're right, I'm eating it because I'm not balanced at that time. Like maybe I have allowed maybe the stress of work, let's just say, to get to me, and I don't, you know, I feel like I need to numb out for a minute.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But I understand it. It's just. So is that part of when you, well, I'll tell you what, let me lead that into the next question. So when you work with women, because I know you have so many, you know, you're trained in so many areas. You talked about food. You talked about yoga.
Womb wellness.
Right, the womb wellness. Now, do you have different programs? Like, let's just say, let's say someone contacts you today after, you know, hearing this message. And do you teach everyone like the similar principles, or is it geared specifically to like what's going on in that individual's life, or, you know, am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you cater your programs?
Yeah. So there is a certain format that I use, but the format is, what's constant is that when you work with me, you're going to have access to my yoga classes. So we get that physical component in there. And you're going to get essential oils. You're going to get a healing kit, and your healing kit's going to be based on what it is that you're working on. So, but it's all, so I have some clients that want to focus on losing weight. That's their primary focus. Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say it again. They want to focus on
losing weight. Okay. So I have some clients that want to lose weight. I have worked with a client that was trying to get out of an abusive relationship. I had another client that, she just was constantly procrastinating and couldn't manifest her dreams. But the thing is the underlying to all of this, whether it's you want to lose weight, whether you are trying to prevent yourself from procrastinating, whether it's you want to get out, you want to have more healthier established relationships, the underlining of it all comes from our thought process. Like, what thoughts are triggering you to do these particular actions to put you in this place to begin with? So that is a common denominator for all the clients I work with. And so one way that I go about that is we do inner child work if it's appropriate. Like, because often all the thoughts that we developed triggered or developed when we were children, based on our interaction with their parents, or our environment, or society. So if you can connect to that inner voice, that inner child, and get clear on what those particular triggers are, then you can better understand your behavior as an adult and be able to move forward. So it's like if I'm working with a woman that wants to lose weight, I can keep telling her, stop eating chips, stop eating that burger, eat a salad. I can say that all day, but at that programming is already embedded in her psyche, it doesn't make any sense. So we got to go to the root to pull it out, to pull that unbalanced pattern out. Is that clear?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I was going to ask, it just slipped me. Oh, so now mental health, because I know a lot of people, we talked about alcohol, we talked about smoking weed, right? And I know a lot of people have anxiety, whether it's generalized anxiety disorder or whether it's social phobias. anxiety, right? I think we're all a lot of individuals that tend to be very tightly wound, you know, and I think a lot of people use alcohol because it's legal and it's accepted.
Yeah.
So I would only assume that you probably get a lot of people that suffer from anxiety and depression. So that's something that, are you still able to apply, I guess, the same principles in terms of doing that inner work and helping them dive deep to kind of uncover and figure out where it's coming from?
Yeah, because again, it all starts with the thoughts, period. That's all where it starts. So I adopted this concept from another master coach named Brooke Castillo, and she has what's called the model. The model says this, that there's a circumstance that happens. You have a thought about that circumstance. Your thought triggers your emotion triggers your action, and your action triggers your results. Okay? So it all starts with a thought. And so if you can get crystal clear on, like, why are you feeling anxious? What's the thought program that's going on in your mind that's causing you to feel like you need to feel anxious? It could be a physiological thing, right? It could be, you know, maybe there's something happening with your maybe you have a hyperthyroid, or maybe there's just, you know, something happening biochemically, but you can still at least begin to dissect based on being consciously aware of your thought process. And of course, there's a diet, like maybe you're consuming a lot of caffeine,
right?
Maybe, you know, you're eating a lot of sugar, you know, and when I do an intake form with clients, I can connect the dots. Okay, you're having a hard time sleeping at night, but you have 3 cups of coffee, or you watch television really late, you know, or you know you're constantly working like 10, 15-hour shifts. So that's again where also the self-care practices comes into balance in order to become more sustainable. I hope I answered that question clear.
Yes, you did. But you know what? I want you to repeat that again, because I'm pretty sure there might be some people out there that are going to see this and going to jot some notes down, myself included. But tell me that logical process that you said it starts with the thought, and then.
So your thoughts. So when you have a circumstance that happens, and if you think about the circumstance, that's true. That really happened, right? But then you have a thought about that circumstance. That thought triggers your emotion. Your emotion triggers your action, and your action gives you your result. So there's an example I like to use. You're driving home. You're commuting home from work on the freeway. Someone cuts you off, right? Your immediate thought can be, you know, give him the middle finger. That guy cut me off. You know, he got in my way. And then what are you feeling? You're upset. You're pissed. You know. And then what's the result? The action is that maybe you drive faster. You start developing more aggressive behavior, and then you might get home and take it out on the family because you're so upset. Or if that person cuts you off, you could be thinking, oh, maybe there's a bleeding child in the car and they need to hurry up and get to the hospital. And if you think that, then your emotions could be more like, oh my God, I'm compassionate. Maybe slow down. Maybe I should be a little bit more conscious. So it's like your thoughts can go either way. And that's why, again, we want to make sure that we're super in control of our thoughts, because oftentimes we let our thoughts run amok. And one thing that Brooke Castillo says is that when you allow your thoughts to run amok, it's like a toddler running around with a knife.
Okay.
Yeah.
So running around with the knife.
Just like, you know, but through meditation, you know, through, you know, eating more whole foods that are creating a positive biochemical effect in your body, through those, just for an example, being fit, getting some exercise, all those things, in addition to being mindful of your thought process, is going to create inner balance. I mean, there's just really no way around it. It's really simple formula, but it takes work, you know, and
it takes practice, right? Like anything else.
Yeah. You know, like affirmations. Affirmations are a perfect way to retrain the newer. And the thing about like thoughts, another like more of a biochemical way of looking at thoughts. Whenever we have a thought, it's literally firing off our neurotransmitters in the brain, right? I don't know if you studied this, like psychology, to become a social worker. So when you have negative thoughts, you have a certain muscle memory of that programming. But if you start to like kind of flex that brain muscle through affirmations, and that's why you say it over and over again. It may not feel true at first, but if you do it over and over again, eventually you're going to fire off neurotransmitters in the brain. It locks in, and then it becomes true. And then your emotions correspond to that thought pattern.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So it's a whole process.
It's a process.
And I think sometimes, like when you deal with depression and anxiety, you know, I think our society our society wants a quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they prescribe, medication.
Yeah.
And that basically, I guess, kind of takes over to prevent the person from really doing the work.
Absolutely.
I know I've suffered from depression, like how you said you suffered from depression. And like you said, it's a matter of retraining your brain.
Yes.
Retraining, which is why you might have one individual that may have just experienced, I don't know, maybe a death in the family, and they respond this way. And then you have another individual that has had a death in the family, same closeness, and so on and so forth, but yet they respond totally differently. Like you said, it's a situation, but once it hit, your thoughts and that trickle down pattern, it's a totally different, people will experience it in a totally different way. Same situation, so I guess that's part of when you work with your clients as well, getting them to be aware of their thoughts. I'm sure there's like journal work,
there's a lot
around prompt, writing down their thoughts and so on, right? Okay,
and that's really where the magic happens. Like I'm just there to hold space, but if you do the work, that's where the shifts really happen, and that's why it's really important to have a coach. I have a coach. I have a business coach. I really need to get another coach, but that's just where I'm at right now. But the thing about having a coach is that, and the reason why I do a 6-month program is because within the first 2 months, you're doing the work and you're feeling good. You're like, what? I got this. I got this. And then something happens and it knocks you off kilter. Or if you have a coach, they're holding you accountable to make sure that those new thought patterns are fully ingrained so that you can be sustainable moving forward.
Yeah. And that's very logical. It's just because you're learning a new way of looking at things.
Yes.
Just like when someone goes to a recovery program, let's say for substance abuse, and just because they're clean, it takes a while for them to redo all of that, as they call it, stinking thinking. You know what I mean? And even though you might be free of the substance, if you still have that same mindset, it's going to lead you right back to those old coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
So
now. Yes.
I'm trying to make sure. I want to make sure that we cover everything.
Okay.
So I want you to talk a little bit about, in terms of, share with us. I know you mentioned about a 6-month program. So just, tell the ladies just a few of the different programs that you offer. And if you have any special offers, I guess, that are, happening now or going to, happen soon. Share that with it.
Okay. Yeah. So my coaching program is a 6-month program. And again, it's 6 months because that gives you plenty of time to implement the new tools and to make sure that it's fully ingrained so that when you move forward, you're able to be sustainable on your own. And so within that 6-month time period, we meet twice a month on the phone for an hour conversation. And it gives us an opportunity to find out what's going on with you. Then based on what you're processing, then I can help navigate and ask certain questions to help you go even deeper. Because oftentimes when we're in our own stuff, we can't really see the outside of our little bubble, right? Even for me, that's why I still need a coach or someone to help me process whatever I'm navigating through. And then you get assignments. Like I mentioned, you get a healing kit, which comes with essential oils, flower essence, affirmation cards, books based on what it is that we're discussing. You get unlimited access to my virtual yoga. And that's another program that I offer, which is virtual yoga, where as long as you have a laptop, I record the sessions, or you can do it with me live. And every week I rotate between restorative yoga practice, which is really gentle, and we focus a lot on core strengthening. And then I do womb yoga, which is all based on, the womb, and we do affirmations, and I also offer sound healing as well within the virtual yoga. What else do I offer? Oh, and another thing too, if you live in the Bay Area, every few months I lead what's called a Sacred Woman Healing Circle. And it's based off of my teachings with Afua. Earlier I was talking about the different gateways. So each circle is based on a gateway, and it's about 3 hours. We start off with womb yoga. We do altar work, meaning we sit in a circle, and it's we have different colors, and we have little pictures of our ancestors, and we process based on that theme. The next one's coming up this Sunday, and it's Sacred Movement. So I'm going to be leading a womb yoga, and then my sister Lita Haitley, who is based in Oakland, she's going to be leading an Afro womb wellness dance. So it's going to be a lot of movement. And I make a vegan meal for everyone. We drink herbal tea, and every circle is completely different. Yeah. So those.
Too bad I'm not in the Bay Area, because I would definitely be there.
I would love to have you here. Yeah, you can be a special guest. We should talk about that. Maybe we can talk about like a particular theme that you may resonate with, and maybe you can be a guest. Yeah.
Okay. When you say that, and I'll be like, "Hey, Misty, I'm here. I'm in the Bay Area."
Hey, anything's possible.
Right. Okay, so I know we're also going to make sure that we have her, Misty's contact information. Mm-hmm. So if you ladies want to reach out to her and link up. So
if it's okay for me to implement really quickly that I do offer a 1-hour free coaching session. So just go to my website. That's always going to be an offer. So, you can come, we can talk. And at the very least, you'll walk away with a blueprint of what you can do to start implementing more balance into your life.
And that's priceless.
Yes.
That is priceless, right, ladies? That's priceless. So if we could close with this question. What advice would you give to, let's say, you 20 years ago?
To be your best friend, to trust that everything is in divine order. It may not feel like it, but it is, because every experience that we go through, it helps our spirit evolve. And to put yourself first no matter what. Again, just be your best friend. Love yourself back to health. If you're overweight, love yourself back into that ideal weight you want to be in. If you're depressed, love yourself out of depression. It's the only way that you can get through it. If you can love yourself from the inside in and know that your heart is in good hands and that your heart is in good hands with you, then you can accomplish anything. Absolutely.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. And that's a whole nother topic. The whole piece of putting yourself first.
Yes.
Is because I think we as women, we get so consumed, especially once we, get married, we have children, we become so consumed. Yeah. And that's something that we put on the back burner.
We do.
So ladies, please don't put yourself on the back burner, because the thing of it is you can't keep pouring from an empty cup. If you are so busy taking care of everyone else that you neglect yourself, you're not going to be around to take care of anybody.
No, you're not.
So you have to put yourself first. That's not being selfish. That's not a dirty phrase. It's necessary. You have to do it.
And it doesn't take that much. I think oftentimes we think about self-care, we think that it has to be this huge production. It could just be, one thing I suggest, like after you take a shower, when you're putting the oil on your skin, take your time. Give yourself a little foot massage or massage your calves. Take a hot bath once a week. Make yourself a yoni steam. If you go to my fan page, I just did a video on how to make your own yoni steam at home. Little things like that. Stacey Walker, I had a conversation with her a few weeks ago, and I love what she said. When she makes her schedule for the week, the first thing she schedules is her self-care practices and designs everything else around that. So, little things that you can do. It doesn't have to be a big production. It could be 5 to 15 minutes a day.
You said Stacey Walker?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's my coach. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure does.
He adores you.
Yeah, I love Stacey. I love Stacey. She's the bomb. She's the bomb. But absolutely, I think that's a very good point, though, Misty. It doesn't have to be a huge production. It doesn't. But it's something that you need to do regularly, and just like you schedule everything else, right? Yeah. Schedule that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wow. Misty, I don't know. We may have to do a part 2. This was
I would love that.
This was really good. You give out so much good information, and I see you doing your yoga. on Facebook.
Yes. Yeah, it's fun. And for anyone who's listening, I'm also offering a month of free virtual yoga. So all you have to do is just contact me and I'll give you the link, and I'll be happy to have you be my guest for the month so you can at least try it out. So there's no excuses. There's free yoga out there for you to start moving your body.
Now let me ask this. I know you have a website. Give us your website. And secondly, do you have Instagram account, and do you have a Facebook group?
I have a Facebook fan page.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could tell us what the web address is.
Okay. So the website is Misty Moon Wellness. That's MYSTYMOON wellness.com. And when you go to my website, you can also subscribe to my newsletter. Every new moon and every full moon, I send out an email newsletter that includes different different self-care practices to do on the moon or the new moon and full moon. I do a live vegan recipe demo, and then just other various healthcare practices.
Yeah, I remember seeing your demo. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, which one is it?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. Guys, I mean, for those that don't know me, for those that know me already know, I breeze past the kitchen. I am not a kitchen person. I want to make enough money to where I can hire my own personal chef.
All right.
You know, I'm just keeping it real. I don't like cooking. So I saw it and I was like, wow, that's cool, but I'm not getting in nobody's kitchen.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're implementing healthy food, then it's all good. But yeah, so you can go to my website, Misty Moon Wellness. You can subscribe to my newsletter, and then on Instagram, I'm Misty Moon. Is it Misty Moon Wellness? Misty Moon Wellness on Instagram. That's also Misty Moon Wellness on my Facebook fan page, and there I'm constantly just giving out various information. I do a weekly womb wisdom every Monday where I talk about maybe 5 to 10 minutes on a topic. Last Monday, 2 days ago, yesterday actually, the topic was about vibrations of music, and being very conscientious about the music and how it affects the body and the moods. So come join me. I'm constantly putting out information, and would love to have you be a part of my little tribe.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, guys, Miss Misty Moon, thank you for those that have joined us or those that may catch the replay. Please, if you have any questions or comments, even if you're watching the replay, still feel free to leave them in the comments. And we'll definitely get back with you. So everyone have a wonderful evening. I know it's 8 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time. So thank you again, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, my pleasure. Peace and love, everyone.
Okay, ladies. Bye.